Hello, and welcome to my channel. My name is Jaden, and I am a Bible-believing street preacher in New York City. And today's video is going to be the next in the playlist that I have on Why I'm Not. And this one is going to be Why I'm Not a Muslim. Now, I've waited to make this one for a while because I thought that the other ones were more important to make. But now that I've released a lot of content on Christianity, I just want to take a moment to make a video on Islam. Now, Christians are so pathetic when it comes to dealing with Muslims because they waste all their time trying to rationalize and make the Muslims see the intellectual misunderstanding and why they believe what they believe. And they will never dare do the real truth and actually expose this disgusting religion for what it is. So since the Christians won't do it and they just want to sit around and argue and be nice, I'm going to show you what this religion actually teaches and what this religion actually is. So this is going to be on why I'm not a Muslim. Okay, so what even is Islam? Well, Islam is not a religion. It's a political system that masks itself as a religion. You see, Muhammad and his so-called, who's the so-called messenger of Allah, is not even a prophet. First of all, oh, and by the way, in this video, I'm not even going to bring up the Bible. The Bible does not even compare to this filthy piece of trash book. Okay, so what Muhammad did was he decided that when he was going to go around and conquer other nations and other cultures, he would take whatever they had and then add it to his stupid book. And that's basically what the Quran is. Chapter 2 of the Quran is called Al-Baqarah. It literally means it's the cow chapter because he killed all the Hindus. And that's why all the Indonesians and the people over there in India, they're Muslim. Because Islam conquered them and took their cow and then they came up with their own cow, right? So, first of all, the word Allah is not Arabic. The word Allah is not Arabic. This word is from Sabaean. This word is a stolen word. The Sabaeans were conquered by the Arabs. This comes from Sabaean. And who were these people later in history? These are the Persians. What did they have? Aramaic. Allah is an Aramaic word. It's not even Arabic. And you know what it means? It means the God. The God. Well, how convenient. How convenient. You can just call yourself the God so that whenever somebody shows up and claims that they worship the God of the Bible, they can just say, yeah, we worship the same God, the God. He doesn't have a name. You have a name. You probably have 2 or 3 of them. Well, if you're watching this and you have a name, you're better than Allah. He has no name. He's an idiot. He's an idiot. All right. Now, where are they getting this Allah thing from? So, in the Middle East, they have this thing called Mecca. They have this Mecca box, and it's literally a giant idol. So the Muslims are so stupid because they run their mouths. We don't have any idols. We don't have any idols. They literally worship a black box. And what's in this black box is 360 gods. And Allah is just one of their gods. And what is he? He's a moon god. He's a moon god. Now, did you know that if I go to the Middle East and I say this, I get put to death for so-called blaspheming their stupid god who has no name? Ridiculous. All right, so this thing, by the way, it's at Mecca, but the box, it's called the Kaaba. It's called the Kaaba. That's what it is. And every single annually, they go to Mecca and they trample on themselves and kill each other trying to get so they can lick the black stone. That's what they go there for. By the way, on the screen, I'm going to put up a bunch of stuff that you can see. I have my notes here, and I have a copy of the Quran right here. So I don't have these idiots running their mouths behind and read it. All right. So now, what is the Quran? So in order to justify all this, what they do is they have this book called the Quran. I'm going to spell it bad. I'm going to spell it wrong on purpose because the Muslims that are going to see this are going to get triggered and I don't care. All right. So the Quran is right here. Okay. Now the Quran is just a collection of books. Not even books. It's just a collection of random dumb stories that Muhammad plagiarized. And then he had his scribes put it together. and then, oh, there came the Quran. Now, the Quran that Muhammad had back in the time of Uthman is not the Quran that they have now, and the Quran they have now is not the Quran that they had in the 1950s. They don't even have the same Quran. Now, the Christians are trying to argue with Muslims out here, reading 400 different Bible versions. How come the dumb Muslim believes their dumb book more than you? That is pathetic. So the Quran is here, but the scholars of the Quran, they realized they had a problem and that some of the verses are too explicit about particular topics that we're going to get into. And so what they do is they make a commentary. So the way that we have Bible commentaries, they have Quran commentaries, right? And this is called hadith. Now, I'm not going to get into the hadith more elaborately, but hadith is not the only thing they have. They also have tafsir, which is just more commentary. But a lot of tafsir are only in Arabic. So, but the ones that are available for you to read, the hadith, I'm going to put all of these in the description of my video. You can go read these at sunnah.com. Sunnah.com. You can look up all these hadith and the stuff that the commentators say. And then they have another one called Answering. They have another website that I'm going to post. And it's basically like a Q&A website where Muslims can answer questions from other Muslims or whatever. And I'm going to be reading out of some of that today. So now what the Arabs do is they say, well, the Quran was given by Allah in Arabic. And because it's in Arabic, if you don't know the Arabic language, you can't read the Quran. So you'll never really know how to understand the text. Well, how convenient. The Muslims and the Christians are the same. The Christians are out here because they're stupid, telling me that I can't understand the Bible because it's not in Greek and Hebrew. The Muslims do the same thing with Arabic. You see, why am I so annoyed? Because the Christians are doing the same thing these people are doing and then walking around acting like they're not any different. Pathetic. All right, so now they have this thing. They say you can't understand it if you don't have Arabic. You have to have it in Arabic because Arabic is the language that Allah supposedly gave the Quran in. Well, what a great God. What if I can't read Arabic? Am I damned to hell? By the way, don't use that argument for the King James Bible. Every single nation in the world speaks English. And the King James Bible has been translated into 500 languages. Don't mouth your excuse, critics, about, oh, you're saying the same thing, but not everyone speaks English. Not going to work. Not going to work. All right. So now, this is just so convenient because they have another system at play here. I haven't even gotten into the Quran yet. I'm going to embarrass. I'm going to embarrass this thing. So they have a system in Islam, and it's called taqiyya. Taqiyya. What is taqiyya? Taqiyya basically means that it is okay to lie for God's sake. Let me ask you a question. Who is the father of all lies? The devil. What does that make Allah? The devil. He's the devil. So when you're arguing with a Muslim, you know why you can't get into their head and you can't convince them that they're wrong? Because the issue is never that they're wrong. They're liars. When you're arguing with them, you're not arguing with a regular person. You're arguing with the devil. Because they can lie no matter what you show them from their Quran, no matter what you show them from the Hadith. They can always just say, that's not what it says. When it's clear what it says. Because they're liars. Because they can lie for the sake of taqiyya, for their God. That's not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible puts you to death. Islam is not an Abrahamic religion. Muhammad slaughtered the Jews and took their religion. And he counterfeited the stuff that they did in the Old Testament. In Islam, you have to submit. They conquer and spread by the sword. Is that you, Christian? No, obviously not. Americans are so stupid. Have you seen what the Arabs are doing to the people in Europe? You think the Europeans, the ones who have a brain, are happy that the Muslims are there? No. Because what the Muslims do is when they're by themselves, they act all innocent and, oh, I'm a victim. And then when they get the majority, they cut your head off. You say I'm exaggerating. How many times an American goes to the Middle East and they say, no, those people don't really throw you off buildings because you're gay. And then they go over there and they throw them off a building. Every time. Every time. All right. So now, here's what's going on at play here. Now, let me just show you some stuff. So I have my notes here. I have, this is like 10 pages of notes. I'm going to try to get through it in this video. Video might get kind of long. But I just want to show you how disgusting this religion is. Now, some of what I'm going to read from is from the Quran. Some of what I'm going to read is going to be from my paper because there's so many verses and the book is so small that it's hard for me to flip through it because my eyesight's bad. So I have some of them typed out here. Now, this Quran, this is a liberal translation. What does liberal mean? Well, in Arabic, I don't know Arabic, but who cares? In Arabic, there's a lot of words that mean a certain thing. And what the Muslims do is they deceitfully translate the words to hide the meaning of certain things because they don't want you to know what they actually mean. And so I'm going to read you some passages that even though they try to hide it, you can still tell in the English how wicked this is. So let's do a couple things here. I want to look at the chapter 3 of the Quran in verse 54. Look what this calls Allah. This is an example of them trying to hide it. It says in chapter 3 of the Quran, verse 54. It's going to say, it says, well, we'll start with verse 53. Our Lord, we believe in you, have sent down, and we follow the messenger. So count us among those who bear witness. And they schemed, but God also schemed, and God is the best of schemers. The word there is deceivers. Deceivers. Now, it doesn't have to say that. It says schemers. A schemer and a deceiver are the same thing. If you're scheming to deceive somebody. So what does that make Allah, this so-called God, this dumb moon God? That makes him the best of deceivers. The best of deceivers. Who's the best of deceivers of the Bible? The devil. The devil. Because this God is the devil. The issue with Muslims is never the issue of intellect. They are liars. They are taught to lie. Get that in your head, Christian. Trying to have debates about the Islamic dilemma. There was never any dilemma. I know what the Islamic dilemma is. The Islamic dilemma is that the Quran says that it proves the Bible. So if the Bible is true, that makes the Quran false. But the issue for the Muslim was never that. The issue is that they are liars. Because they're taught to lie. Because their God is the devil. Here's another one. Let's look at something really funny here. Okay, so the Muslims are always running their mouth about how the Christians, all you people believe is you believe in 3 gods. We believe in one God, Allah. All right. They believe in one God. All right. We're going to look at chapter 23. I am not here to defend Christianity for Islam. There's nothing to defend. Chapter 23. Chapter 23. Now look how embarrassing this is. Islam destroys itself. Chapter 23 and verse, I got it right here. Verse 12. We created man from an essence of clay, and we placed him as a drop of fluid in a safe place. And we developed from that drop into a clinging form, and we developed that form into a lump of flesh, and we developed that lump into bones and clothed the bones with flesh. Is that how a baby is made? No. Then it says, then we brought him into being as a new creation. Glory be to God. The word there is Allah, the best of creators. If I say to you that you are the best bicycle rider, that makes you the best compared to everybody else. You can't be the best if you're the only guy. So if it says that he's the best of creators, what does that mean? There's other creators. They're idolaters. The best of creators. You don't read that anywhere in the Bible. Here's another one. This one's even more embarrassing because it names it. It names it. Look at this. Chapter 37. Chapter 37. 37. All right. Chapter 37. And look at this. Verse 124. 37, 124. He said to his people, have you no fear of God? Do you call on Baal and abandon the best of creators? So Baal's a creator. He's just not the best one, which makes them Muslim and idolater. They worship more gods. They worship two gods because this one is Baal. But Allah's the best of creators. You know what I mean? Always running their mouth about you Christians believe in multiple gods. No, we don't. One times one times one. It's so simple. So in this chapter, you have 23:14, and then you have 37:125. All right. Well, what does that make Allah? Allah is the best of creators. Pathetic. Pathetic. By the way, the Mosque of Omar, mosques are not Muslim. They're not Islamic. Mosques come from Byzantine Greek buildings when the Muslims slaughtered the Greeks. There's no such thing as a Muslim mosque. They're Greek Byzantine buildings from the first, second, and third century. Ridiculous. All right. Now, here's a very convenient thing that's in Islam. So Islam has something called the doctrine of abrogation. The doctrine of abrogation. This is the way they get around this. So these verses are so embarrassing. So what they do is they have like a copy-paste button. Abrogation means that Allah sent a verse to replace another one. Why would they want to do that? Because some verses are just so embarrassing that they have to have one rescind the other. So basically, the doctrine of abrogation in Islam is due to so-called mistakes made by God, which replaces any older teaching on the same issue. All right. Now, the proof text for that is going to be chapter 2, 106 in the Quran. It says, "We do not abrogate a verse or cause it to be forgotten, except that we bring forth one better than it or similar to it. Do ye not know that Allah is over all things competent?" Also, chapter 13, verse 39, Allah eliminates what he wills or confirms, and with him is the mother of the book. All right, so that's going to be these two verses here. That's going to be 2:106, and that's also going to be 13:39. Well, how convenient. Oh, I just said the wrong thing. Sorry, Muhammad. Sent you the wrong verse. Left you my USPS post mail in the wrong mailbox. Sorry, can you give me that verse back so I can give you a different one to fix the issue with the book? Does the God of the Bible have to do that? All right. Now we're going to look at some contradictions. Easy contradictions. Chapter 3, verse 59. This is talking about the creation of Adam. It says, "Indeed, the example of Jesus to Allah is like that of Adam. He created him from dust and said to him, 'Be,' and he was." Dust. But then it says in 21:30, it says, "Have those who disbelieve not considered that the heavens and the earth were a joint entity, and we separated them and made from water every living thing?" So he said he made Adam from the dust, but then this verse says he made him from water and made every living thing from water. That's in 21:30. It says in chapter 25:54, "It is he who has created from water a human being and made him lineage and marriage." Some of this is incompetent to read. Chapter 96, verse 2, "Created man from a clinging substance." Well, clinging substance is not water or dust. Chapter 15, verse 26, "And we did certainly create man out of clay and from an altered black mud." Ah, so now I'm from black mud. Well, black mud's not clay. Chapter 16, verse 4, "He created man from a sperm drop." What? This is loading territory. All right. Now let's start getting into the bad stuff. It says in chapter 2, verse 193. So in Islam, I'm going to put this in. By the way, anything that I don't mention on the paper, I'm going to put it in the description so you can read it, okay? Islam has something called a jizya. This is a tax Christians and Jews have to pay. If you don't pay it, you die. And if you pay it, do you die? You might still die, but they'll let you live. So Christians and Jews have to pay this tax. Well, how loving. It's such a religion of peace. Now, the way this works is that in Islam, you have to convert people by those swords. If they don't convert, you kill them. So we're going to look at that. It says in chapter 2, verse 193, fight them until there is no more fitna and until worship is acknowledged to be for Allah. But if they cease, then there is no aggression except against the oppressors. That's not the God of the Bible. The God of the Bible never forced converted anybody. If a stranger in the land of Egypt, if a stranger in any of the land outside of Israel wanted to come worship God, they have to be treated as a native born. Leviticus 19:33. That's not this. This one says you convert them, and then if they convert, then you don't kill them. Wicked. Chapter 2, verse 256. There shall be no compulsion in the acceptance of the religion, which is to say, you can't accept other religions. You have to accept this one. All right, let's keep going. Let's talk about some other contradictions. Did Pharaoh drown in the Red Sea? This is a good one. It says, chapter 17, verse 103. So he intended to drive them from the land, but we drowned him and those with him altogether. But then it says in we'll do another one, chapter 43, 55. And they angered us, and we took retribution from them and drowned them all, right? But then look what it says here. This is going to be chapter 10, verse 90 to 92. And we took the children of Israel across the sea, and Pharaoh and his soldiers pursued them in tyranny and enmity until the drowning overtook him. And he said, I believe that there is no deity except in whom the children of Israel believe, and I am of the Muslims. What? Think about that verse. Pharaoh saying he doesn't believe in any of the deity except the one that the children of Israel believes. But then Pharaoh says that he's a Muslim. Well, you know what that means? That means Allah is a Muslim. Because why would a Muslim be worshiping another God except Allah? But the Allah here is the God of the children of Israel, if Pharaoh's a Muslim. Which makes Allah a Zionist. Idiots. Now, and you had disobeyed before were of the corruptors. So today we will save you in body, that ye may be to those who succeed to you a sign. So the two previous verses said that Pharaoh was drowned, but chapter 10 says that Pharaoh would be saved in body. He wouldn't die. What? All right, how about another one? Days of creation. Chapter 32, verse 4. It is Allah who created the heavens and the earth and whatever is between them in 6 days. But then chapter 41, verse 9 says, do ye in this believe that he who created the earth in 2 days attributes him to be equal? So did he make it in 6 days or did he make it in 2 days? What? All right, now here's going to be one of the most ridiculous ones. And then I'm going to start getting into the disgusting stuff. Okay, so in Islam, they don't believe that Jesus was killed. Do you know how ridiculous that is? Not even that moron, Bart Ehrman, says that. None of the top atheist scholars teach that Jesus wasn't crucified. That was never the topic of the debate, whether he was crucified or not. The debate is if he came up from the dead. Now, he did come up from the dead, because the Bible says so, regardless of your opinion. But no one is out here arguing if Jesus was crucified or not. Everyone believes in the crucifixion. Even the Jews believe it. They just don't believe he's Messiah. So now you have it over here that the Muslims are saying this. It says in chapter 4, 157, indeed, we have killed the Messiah, Jesus, the son of Mary, the messenger of Allah. They killed him, right? And they did not kill him, nor did they crucify him, but Judas was made to resemble him to them. And they did not kill him for certain. So somehow, Jesus is on the cross and he body swaps him for Judas Iscariot. What? Chapter 3, verse 55. Allah said, O Jesus, indeed, I will take you and raise you to myself, and purify you from those who disbelieve, and make those who follow you superior to those who disbelieve unto you until the resurrection. I'm so confused. Okay, so they said that they killed the Messiah, but then they said they didn't kill him or crucify him. It was Judas Iscariot. But then in chapter 3, Allah, who's in the seventh heaven, according to the Quran, he takes Jesus and raises him up to himself. Well, where's Muhammad? Isn't he the prophet's messenger? Where is he? Why is Jesus sitting up with Allah in heaven? Only God can do that, which makes Jesus God. Where's Muhammad? Ridiculous. Okay, so now we're going to get into the really bad stuff. Let's continue with the infidel stuff before I get into the worst part of it. All right, so we're going to write these verses down for you. This is going to be chapter 5. It's going to be chapter 5, 17, 21, 20, or 33, to 34. You say, why didn't I write infidels there? According to the Quran, Christians are infidels. They're unbelievers. So let's look about this. Chapter 5, verse 17. They have certainly disbelieved who say that Allah is Christ, the Son of Mary. Right? Verse 21. O my people, enter into the Holy Land, which Allah is assigned to you, and do not turn back from fighting in Allah's cause and thus becoming losers. Okay, so what happens to these people? Indeed, the penalty for those who wage war against Allah and his messenger and strive upon the earth to cause corruption is none but that they be killed or crucified, or that their hands and their feet be cut off from opposite sides, or that they be exiled from the land. That's you, Christian. You are going to be cut off and crucified and exiled from the land. So if you are a Christian or a non-Muslim, you are to be put to death. You're to be murdered because you don't believe in Allah's messenger. They're a stupid moon god who can't read. How about this? What happens if somebody turns back from fighting? A Muslim turned back from fighting. O you who have believed, when you meet those who disbelieve advancing for battle, do not turn back. Do not turn to them your backs. And whoever turned his back to them on such a day, unless swerving as a strategy for war or joining another company, has certainly returned with anger upon him from Allah, and his refuge is in hell, and his wretch is the destination. Okay, so, all right, so you're a Muslim. This is a Muslim. Okay, now this is a war going on. If this Muslim doesn't go to war, let's put a red X. If this Muslim doesn't go to war, what happens? Allah damns him to hell. Now, why is this important? Because in Islam, salvation is by the sword. And so if you want to get saved in Islam, you got to do something called jihad. Jihad. That's conquering the infidels, slaughtering them, and converting the world to Islam for the sake of Allah and his stupid messenger. Or else, if they don't, if a Muslim goes to war and they don't follow through with it, they are damned to hell. So they got to do jihad. They should be doing it every single day. So all these Muslims out in America are not good Muslims. They should be doing jihad according to their book. Let me tell you something. There is no such thing as radical Islam. All Islam is radical. There's no such thing as a radical Islam. Oh, some of them are peaceful. Liars. Liars. Some of them are peaceful. Uh-huh. Did you see the videos on 9/11 of the so-called peaceful Muslim women laughing, dancing, and giving out candy when the planes hit the towers? Aren't they peaceful? Have you seen the videos of Hamas, of the son going and slaughtering and raping women and coming back to his mother, and the woman and the mom was praising her son because he did a jihad? He raped those Jews and killed them and slaughtered them. There's no such thing as a peaceful Muslim. When they're in the minority, they act like cowards. They act all nice and this and that. And the second they get the majority, they come and they slaughter you. And they've done it, and they will keep doing it because their religion tells them to conquer by the sword. You know what's pathetic? Half of European history, they've been at war with Islam. They must have not learned from their history because they let them all in. And now what are the Muslims doing? Raping their women and killing them and beheading them. They have their own Sharia law. In Europe, if you want to have your stupid Sharia law, go to your country. No, they want to bring it to everywhere else because that's what this is. Salvation by the sword. That's what they believe. Muslims are like probably the second hardest people to win to Christ, and right next to the Jews, because the Jews are hard for a different reason. But they get power by doing this. There's just power. That's Ishmael's kids, Esau's kids, Hagar's kids. That's all that stuff. Okay. Now, let's keep reading. It says so this is going to be about people who were disobedient to Allah in war. Those who believe fight in the cause of Allah. This is chapter 4, 76 to 77. And those who disbelieve fight in the cause of Taghut. So fight against the allies of Satan. Which is to say that if you do not fight, you are an ally of the devil and Allah will damn you. Here, look what the Quran says about disobedient, peaceful Muslims. It says, this is going to be verse 77. 477. Have you not seen those who were told, restrain your hand from fighting and establish prayer and give zakah? But then when fighting was ordained for them at once, a party of them feared men as they fear Allah, and they said, our Lord, why have you decreed upon us fighting? If only you had postponed it for us for a short time. Say, the enjoyment of this world is little, and the hereafter is better for those who fear Allah. And injustice will not be done unto you as much as a thread. Let's keep reading. Chapter 328. Let not believers take disbelievers as allies, but rather than believers. Whosoever of you that has nothing with Allah except when taking precaution against him in prudence, Allah warned you of himself, and to Allah is the final destination. Peaceful Muslims. Not according to their book. You can't be a peaceful Muslim in their book. So every single Muslim is a liar. See what I mean? This religion is from the devil, man. All right. Now, how about we keep reading? Chapter 9, verse 81 to 85. So if you don't go to war and do the jihad, then you do not get compassion from other Muslims. Let's look at this. Those who remained behind rejoiced in their staying at home after the departure of the messenger of Allah and disliked to strive with their wealth and their lives in the cause of Allah and said, don't go forth in the heat. Say, the fire of hell is more intensive in heat. So let them laugh a little and weep as much as recompense for what they used to earn. If Allah should return to you a faction of them and then ask your permission to go out to battle, say, you will not go out with me ever, and you will never fight with me, an enemy. Indeed, you are satisfied with sitting at home the first time, so now sit with those who stay behind. So basically, the guy was enjoying himself at home, and when he decided to go to do the jihad, the Muslim told him off and told him, no, you can't come because you wanted to stay back and pray and do your little, enjoying your little food and whatever, instead of fighting the infidels with us. It says, and do not pray the funeral of Muhammad, O Muhammad, over any of them who has died ever or stand at his grave. So basically, don't ever go to someone's grave and lament someone in your family that died because you didn't go to do the jihad with them. See what I mean? All right. We're going to keep going now. So let's look at this one. Chapter 9, verse 86 to 89. Or rather, I'll just read 80, 88, 89, because I already read the other ones. This is what heaven is for. But the messenger and those who believe with him fought with their wealth and their lives. Those will have all that is good. and it is those who are successful. Allah has prepared for them gardens beneath the rivers wherein they will abide eternally. That is a great attainment. So heaven is only for those who war. Heaven is only for those who war. That's chapter 9, verse 88 to 89. That is wicked. All right. Now there's going to be a verse in the Quran. So let me see if my notes. That was the stuff on war. But now I want to get into Islam's perversion. You say, what perversion? I mean sex perversion. Okay. So we're going to look at a verse here. And the verse here is going to be chapter 4, verse 24. And this has to do with the possession of women after a war and captivity. It says in chapter 4, verse 23, you are forbidden to take as your wives, your mothers, daughters, sisters, paternal, maternal, aunts, your brothers, daughters, etc., and stepdaughters in your protection, and the daughters of your wives whom you have consummated your marriage. But if you have not consummated your marriage, then you will not be blamed if you marry their daughters. You are also forbidden to marry the spouses of your sons or two sisters together. It says, God is forgiving and merciful. Also, forbidden are married women, except those who have passed into your hands as prisoners of war. This is a commandment of God to you. All women other than these are lawful to you, provided you seek them with your wealth and honest wedlock and not in fornication. That is a lie. They add stuff to the text that's not there because other translations don't say this. So let me give you the interpretation. This is going to be from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri. This is a this is going to be a interpretation on the verse we just read. It says, the apostle of Allah sent a military expedition to Awatas on the occasion of the battle of Hunain. They met their enemy and fought with them, and they defeated them and took them captives. Some of the companions of the apostle of Allah were reluctant to have relation with the female captives because of their pagan husbands. So the female captives, look, they were married to husbands. And what happened? The men who took them captive didn't want to sleep with the women because they felt awkward about the husbands being there. So Allah, what did he do? He abrogated. He sent down a verse to his prophet. So Allah, the Exalted, sent down the Quranic verse. All married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hands possess. This is to say that they are lawful for them when they complete their waiting period. Okay, you say, what's a waiting period? So in Islam, they have something for the women called the iddah. This is the waiting period after their period is over. That's what this is. This is the waiting period. Okay, now let me just read that to you again. It's going to say here that all married women are forbidden unto you, save those captives whom your right hands possess. Basically, you can't have other wives of that group, but if you capture those women, yeah, you can have all of them, as many of them as you want. Until it says, save those captives whom your right hands possess. So the women were fair game. See how evil that is? Now, when are they lawful? When they complete their waiting period, after their period is over. That is disgusting. All right, let's keep reading. I want to look at another one. Let's look at some more perverted stuff in Islam. We're going to look at chapter 78, 31 to 36. Okay, it says, indeed, for the righteous is attainment, gardens and grapevines, and full-breasted companions of equal age, 34 and a full cup, and no ill speech when they hear therein any falsehood. And it says that this is a reward from your Lord, a generous gift. This is talking about heaven, and heaven is talking about the women are going to be full-breasted. They're going to have gardens and grapevines, and that's from the Lord. It says in chapter 44, 51 to 56, it says, indeed, the righteous will be in a secure place with gardens and springs, within gardens and springs, and we will marry to them fair women with large, beautiful eyes. They will not taste death therein except the first death, and he will have protected them from the punishment of hellfire. Now, what are these women? Chapter 56, 34 to 35. Indeed, we have produced the women of paradise in a new creation and made them virgins. Their idea of heaven is that they're gonna have infinite sex with virgin women over and over and over again. I'm gonna show you some more. It says, chapter 83, 22. Indeed, the righteous will be in pleasure, adorned couches, observing. You will recognize in their faces the radiance of pleasure, and they will be given to drink pure wine, which was sealed. So not only are they going to have a bunch of sex with these beautiful virgin women, they're going to be drinking wine like crazy, getting drunk. How about some more? This is going to be a hadith. So this is a hadith by Jami al-Tirmizi. By the way, what the Muslims do with the hadith is that the hadith is like a Pokemon rating system. And they have a rating system for the Sahih, for the hadith. So they say that if the hadith is not Sahih, which is like the legendary status of like a Pokemon, that it's not credible and you can't acknowledge that. Well, they're liars because I can show them Sahih, Bukhari, I can show them any of their top scholars that are Sahih that meet this. And when you show them the hadith, they say, no, that's a weak hadith. That interpretation is very weak. You can't argue with these people. All right, so let's look at this. This is going to be Jami al-Tirmizi. This is going to be from Abu Sa'id al-Khudri, narrating the position. It said, the least of the people of paradise in position is the one with 80,000 servants and 72 wives. Oh. He shall have a tent of pearl, corridor set up for him, which is between Al-Bijaya and Sana'a. And this chain is narrated from the Prophet. Whosoever of the people destined to enter paradise dies, young or old, they shall be brought in paradise 30 years old, and they will not increase in ever. Likewise, the people of the fire. Well, he's saying that the people that are in heaven, once they die, they're going to get resurrected in a 30-year-old body, and then they're never going to die again. Well, that was talking about the women from earlier. So the women don't age, they don't die over and over and over and over again. Now, how many wives can a guy have? It's 72. It's going to be Hadith, Volume 4, Book 12, 2050, narrated by the Messenger of Allah. Indeed, in paradise, there is a market in which there is no buying nor selling except images of men and women. So whenever a man desires an image, he enters into it. So you can have 72 wives, and in paradise, he's saying there's a market in which there's no buying and selling except of images of men and women. Well, that's a lie. I just read you a bunch of resources saying that you can have all the stuff that you want, man. So whenever a man desires an image, he enters into it. Well, that is gross. All right. So let's look at some more stuff. Okay. Let's look at this now. So this is a Q&A on the website I'm going to drop to you later. And it's about marrying young girls. Marrying young girls. It says in this. It says, the question is going to be on the ruling on marrying young girls. Why Islam allowed to marry children of age below 10 with their permission, without their permission? Okay, so the question is, can you justify this ruling of Islam, which is child marriage? That's the question. Now the person is going to respond, and his name is Sheikh Abu Bakr Zaid. So he says, marrying a young girl before she reaches the age of adolescence is permitted in Sharia. What is Sharia? Sharia is Islamic law. Islamic law is Sharia. So Sharia, by the way, they tried to have that stuff here in Texas and they got rid of it. All right. Now it's going to say here, now what is it that this person's asking? So the person's asking for an interpretation on a verse in the Quran, because the person doesn't understand the verse. Chapter 65 of the Quran. Verse 4. In the case of those of your wives who have passed the age of menstruation, If you have any doubt, know that their waiting period is 3 months, and that will apply likewise to those who have not yet menstruated. The waiting period of those who are pregnant will be until they deliver their burden, as in giving birth. Okay, so I mentioned this earlier, that the waiting period is called the iddah. And this iddah is 3 months. Okay, now look what the passage said. Look what it said. It said that if you have any doubt, know that their waiting period is 3 months, and that will apply likewise to those who have not yet menstruated, which means that if the person wants to have sex with that person, then that means that they have to wait a 3-month waiting period for her period first to happen before that they can do it with that woman. But now it's saying that this also applies to those who have not yet menstruated. Let me ask you a question. What kind of woman hasn't menstruated yet? A little girl. Now you say I'm privately interpreting the passage. That's what the Muslims will do. That's not what it says. All right. We're going to go to your stupid hadith, and I'm going to read it from you. It says, marrying a young girl before she reaches the age of adolescence is permitted in Sharia. Indeed, it was narrated that there was scholarly consensus on this point. Those of your women, this is the interpretation. And those of your women, as have passed the age of monthly courses, for them, the iddah, if you have doubt, is 3 months. And for those who have no courses, they are still immature, their iddah is 3 months likewise. That's Al-Talaq 65:4, what I just read to you. In this verse, we see that Allah has made the iddah in the case of divorce of a girl who does not have periods, because she is young and has not yet reached puberty, 3 months. This clearly indicates that Allah has made this a valid marriage. So the person, so it says in this verse, we have seen that the iddah in the case of divorce of a girl who does not have periods. Well, what kind of girl doesn't have periods? It says it in the interpretation, because she hasn't reached puberty. So when the guy wants to consummate the marriage with a little girl, he has to wait 3 months because to wait for her period first. Seriously? This is disgusting. I'm not done yet. I'm not even close to done yet. This is disgusting. Why are you sitting here arguing with the Islamic dilemma? The Islamic dilemma. Who cares about the Islamic dilemma? This is disgusting. This is a sex pervert religion. It's a religion of peace. It says in section B, it was narrated from Aisha. Aisha is Muhammad's little child wife, because he was a pedophile. And you know what's really sad? Let's look at what the hadith, the scholar, narrates. It says it was narrated from Aisha that the Prophet married her when she was 6 years old, but he consummated it with the marriage with her when she was 9 years old. That means that he would have consummated it if he could, but he couldn't. So he waited until she was 9. Now, what is the reason that they wait till 9 years old? Well, we're going to read this. It says this was narrated by Sahih. This is Al-Bukhari. This is literally their best scholar, their best one. The fact that it is permissible to marry a young girl does not mean that it is permissible to have intercourse with her. Rather, that should not be done until she is able for it. They're not saying it's permissible because it's evil. They're saying it's not permissible because they should wait until she can do it to begin with. You know why that's in this? Because Muhammad couldn't have sex with Aisha when she was 6 because she couldn't handle it. You understand exactly what I'm saying. So he waited until she was 9, then she was able for it. This is disgusting. I'm not done. For that reason, the prophet delayed the consummation of his marriage to Aisha. Al-Nawawi said, with regard to the wedding party of a young married girl at the time of consummating the marriage, if the husband and the guardian of the girl agree upon something that will not cause harm to the young girl, then that may be done. So the dad can give his little girl, his little child bride, his daughter, to another 50-year-old. This Muhammad was 54 years old when he did this Aisha. So the father of Aisha, so the guy can give his little daughter to some pedophile, and then he can marry her, but he won't consummate it until she can handle it. You understand? Don't make me say it. If they disagree, then Ahmad and Abu Ubaid said that once a girl reaches the age of 9, then the marriage may be consummated, even without her consent. But that does not apply in the case of a girl who's younger. Okay, yeah. So the girl who's younger than 9, she can't consent. But once she's 9 years old, this stipulation doesn't matter, and then you can consummate it. Rape a little girl. Malik al-Shafi Abu Hanifa said, the marriage may be consummated when the girl is able for intercourse, which varies from one girl to another. So no age limit can be set. What does the scholar say? He says, this is the correct view. There is nothing in the hadith of Aisha to set an age limit or forbid that in the case of a girl who was able for it before the age of 9, or allow it in the case of a girl who was not able for it and has reached the age of 9. Aisha was reached her physical maturity at the time of her consummation. She was 9 years old. Don't you dare compare the God of the Scriptures, the Holy Scriptures, to this filth. This is disgusting. This is unforgivable. Jesus died for everybody. You like these Christians, all they talk about is the love of God. They're always trying to convince the Muslim and have debates with them. You're pathetic. There's no debate. There's no discussion to have. This is evil. You know what they practice in the Middle East? Since the girl here can't have intercourse until she's 9 because she can't handle it. In the Middle East, they do surgeries on the little girls to open their genitals so that the man can rape the girl before she's 9. What is wrong with you Christians? Oh, it's just another religion. It's not a big deal. Cowards. That's Shar Muslim 9:206. It says it is preferable for a guardian not to marry off his daughter when she is still young, unless there's a valid reason for it. Yeah, because that makes everything I just read any better, right? It should be noted that Al-Shafi'i and his companion said, it is preferable for fathers and grandfathers not to marry off a virgin until she reaches the age of puberty and they ask permission, lest she end up in a marriage that she dislikes. How can a little girl make a decision like that young? What do you mean ask her permission? What permission is that? Dude, if you're the dad and you're allowing that, you should be killed. It says what they said does not go against the hadith of Aisha, because what they meant is that they should not marry her off before she reaches puberty if there is no obvious interest to be served that they will fear will be missed out on if they delay it, as in the hadith of Aisha. That's disgusting. That is disgusting. All right, now let me read you some more bad stuff. More bad stuff. It says in Sunan, this is Darussalam, Sahih, very high quality hadith. Look what Aisha did. It said Aisha said that the Prophet married her when she was 7. She was brought to live with him when she was 9, bringing her toys with her. And then it says, it was narrated that Aisha said, I often scraped semen from the garment of the messenger of Allah with my hand. Seriously? This is not a religion of peace. You understand why God stoned people in the Old Testament? Because of this. Because of this filth. This is what the pagans were doing in the days of the Old Testament. And you have all these stupid Americans and these stupid Christians saying, it's not that bad. It's not all Muslims. Tell it to the Europeans, what they're going through right now. All right. So I'm almost done. I'm almost done with the video. I just want to read you some other really bad stuff. So this one is about Muhammad. Okay. So this is an article. The benefits of drinking the blessed urine of our holy prophet. No other person in history has had so many blessings bestowed upon him, such as were bestowed by Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala on our beloved prophet. If the Kafir were aware of even a tiny fraction of them, they would abandon their stubbornness and embrace Islam wholeheartedly. Kafir means apostate. By the way, some Muslims say that they are Quran only. You can't be Quran only because according to Islam, you're an apostate. That's your own sheikh saying that. Idiots. Take, for example, the case where a companion of the Prophet drinks his blessed urine, only to discover that she has now been shielded from the fire of hell. So drinking Muhammad's pee saves you from hell. I'm gonna post, by the way, like I said, I'm gonna post all this stuff in the description, okay? So you can read this, you can read it for yourself. Okay. This is gonna be my last thing, and I'm gonna close it out. Al-Bukhari. This is a hadith. It says, this is a question. Yahya related to me from Malik, from Nafi of Abu Dala ibn Abdullah ibn Umar, sent a question to Aisha. So someone wants to ask Aisha a question. May a man fondle his wife when she is menstruating? She replied, let her wrap her waist wrapper around her lower part, then he may fondle her if she wishes. The guy wants to fondle his wife. She said, wrap something around the bottom part and then you can do whatever you want. This is a sex religion. Here, how about this one? How about this one? Anas told that some people of Ukul who had come to the Prophet and accepted Islam found Medina unhealthy. So he ordered them to go to the camels of the Sadaqah and drink some of their urine and their milk. They were told to go drink the urine and milk of the camels. They did so and became well, after which they apostatized, killed the herdsmen, and drove off the camels. So these men, they drank the stuff from the camels, they drank their pee and their milk, and then they killed the animals, right? So what did Muhammad do in response? So he sent people in pursuit of them, and when they were brought, he had their hands and their feet cut off and their eyes put out and left them to die without cauterizing them to stop the flow of blood. A version says nails were driven into their eyes. Another says he ordered nails to be heated after having them blinded with them and had thrown them out on the Hara. Although they begged for water, they were left to die without being given any. So these guys, they kill the animals. So what they do is they cut off their hands and their feet. They leave them there completely just immobile. And then they took it and they put their eyes out. They took nails, they burned the nails and then drove it into them. Just for killing a camel. Oh, it's a religion of peace. Hey, you're an idiot. You were the best, chapter 3, 110. You were the best of the peoples, raised up for the benefit of mankind. The best for mankind are those who bring up the chains round about their neck until they embrace Islam. He's saying the best kinds of people are those who take chains and rim them on people's necks until they embrace Islam. Why? To save them from eternal punishment in hellfire. That's Al-Bukhari, Sahih, another one. So, I'll close it out on there. This is why I'm not a Muslim. This is not an Abrahamic religion. This is not even a religion. It's a political state set up around the belief of a God to justify this kind of stuff. Jesus, the real Jesus says, wherefore by their fruits ye shall know them. religion of peace. They almost conquered 2/3 of the entire planet in the Crusades. Do you know why Christopher Columbus came to the Americas? He was not out here looking for spices like the stupid Americans say. He was looking for people to recruit and to convert. Because Europe almost lost their whole country to Islam. Islam had conquered 2/3 of the planet, Africa, Ethiopia, the whole spiel. This is a perverted sex religion built on war. Built on war. And now my city, this stupid city, is going to vote in this Arab. Although this video will be posted after that election, so who knows what will happen. You, Christian, need to stop trying to have intellectual debates when the thing you are arguing with is the devil. A very, 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 very tiny percentage of Muslims are willing to hear the truth, but the majority of them will not hear you because it has nothing to do with what they believe. What they believe justifies a disgusting lifestyle. It's a sex religion built around war and child pedophilia. And then when you die and go to heaven, you can have 72 wives and have sex with them forever, and they keep becoming virgins. It is a sex religion. And you see these Christians out here trying to argue and own the Muslims and own the libs, and they won't tell them the truth. They will only bring up the sex stuff sometime, but ever rarely. What are you doing arguing with all these dumb Muslims online, these celebrity Muslims? They're wicked. They're wicked. So I'll close it out on there. This is why I'm not a Muslim. This stuff is evil, man. But Jesus still loved these people enough to die for them. So you still should give them gospel tracts. But don't waste your time trying to have an ecumenical debate and prove to them that Jesus is God. They won't believe you for the same reason Jehovah's Witnesses and Seventh-day Adventists won't believe you. They have the wrong version of God. So I'll make the board available. Grace be to you all.